Good day, sir. My name is Jazul Bernata Soriano from Bachelor of Science in Criminology at University of Eastern Pangasinan, Block E. What are the aims of La Liga Filipina? First, to unite the whole archipelago into one vigorous and homogeneous organization. Rizal wanted to have a unified members who are geared towards liberating the country, but again, the League does not want a violent revolution. They wanted a peaceful revolution through the different activities of the La Liga Filipina. Second, mutual protection in every want and necessity. Because as soon as you become a member of the League, you are protected with all the different policies within the League. Third, defense against all violence and injustice. Considering that the 19th century was a century of biases and oppression to the Filipinos, and the La Liga thought that it is a civic platform that would help the Filipinos be defended against the different versions of oppressions in the community. Fourth, encouragement of instruction, agriculture, and commerce. When the League was created, there were also issues with land situation, especially in Calamba. And because of this league, through the help of Rizal, they were able to contribute to the recommendations as to what should be done in the farming situation in Calamba, and that they were able to give recommendations such as most of the proceeds taxes coming from these lands were not really used for the improvement of the community, but these were all used by the friars, and the friars did not contribute to the development of the towns. If the La Solidaridad focused on writing, the La Liga Filipina focused on applying these theories to the civic activities in the Philippines. Fifth, study the application of reforms because they are not anymore about theories and writing the deplorable conditions. They wanted to take part on the change that should be done in the Philippines. Just like the La Solidaridad and the propaganda movement, why again the La Liga Filipina ended. Why did Rizal or why did they establish it? From the propaganda movement of the Ilustrados, led by Dr. Jose Rizal, Marcelo H. Del Pilar, and Graciano Lopez Haina. They organized the propaganda movement, which was a peaceful crusade for reforms. When the Ilustrados came to Spain, they realized that there are lots of privileges that are not accorded to the Filipinos in the Philippines. With their very liberal-minded education in Spain, they began to understand that if the Spaniards and the Filipinos in Spain has that kind of freedom and independence, why not apply it in the Philippines? The problems of forging unity during Rizal's time. There are lots of injustices happening in the Philippines that these Spaniards failed to see and failed to remedy. From the 19th century, there is no equality between Filipinos and Spaniards. The Filipinos were not called Filipinos back then, but Indios, the general term for people who are being discovered. Which, if you are black-skinned, flat-nosed Filipino, then you are inferior in the eyes of the law. The Filipinos in this time were unfortunate victims of the evils of an unjust, biased, and deteriorating power. These are first, instability of colonial administration. This political instability in Spain adversely affected Philippine affairs because it brought about frequent periodic shifts in colonial policies and periodic rigodon of colonial officials. Second, corrupt colonial officials. They were either highly corrupt, incompetent, cruel, or venal. Third, no Philippine representation in Spanish courts. Fourth, human rights denied to Filipinos. Since the adoption of the Spanish Constitution of 1812 and other constitution in succeeding years, The people of Spain enjoyed freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of association, and other human rights, except for freedom of religion. The Spanish authorities who cherished these human rights in Spain denied them to the Filipinos in Asia. Fifth, no equality before the law. Spaniards arrogantly regarded the brown-skinned Filipinos as inferior beings. Spaniard Penal Code, which was enforced in the Philippines, particularly imposed heavier penalties on native Filipinos or mestizos, and lighter penalties on white-complexioned Spaniards. Sixth, maladministration of justice. The courts of justice in the Philippines during Rizal's time were notoriously corrupt. Justice was costly, partial, and slow. Wealth, social prestige, and color of skin were preponderant factors in winning a case in court. The judicial procedure was so slow and clumsy that it was easy to have justice delayed. 7. Racial discrimination. Filipinos as inferior beings who were infinitely undeserving of the rights and privileges that the white Spaniards enjoyed. Spaniards called the brown-skinned and flat-nosed Filipinos Indios. In relation, the Filipinos dubbed their pale-complexioned detractors with the disparaging term bangus or milkfish. 8. Philocracy. The friars, Augustinians, Dominicans, and Franciscans controlled the religious and educational life of the Philippines, and later in the 19th century, they came to acquire tremendous political power, influence, and riches. Almost every town in the archipelago, except in Islamic Mindanao and Sulu in pagan hinterlands, was ruled by a friar curate. 9. Forced labor, known as polo, compulsory labor imposed by the Spanish colonial authorities on adult Filipino males in the construction of churches, schools, hospitals, building and repair of roads and bridges, building of ships, and other public works. 10. Haciendas owned by the friars. During Rizal's times, the Spanish friars belonging to different religious orders were the richest landlords, for they owned the best haciendas, or agricultural lands in the Philippines. And last, the Guardia Civil. They later became infamous for their rampant abuses, such as maltreating innocent people, looting their carabaos, chickens, and valuable belongings, and raping women. Rizal himself witnessed the discrimination of how the Guardia Civil, either Filipino or insulares, treated the Filipinos. How the La Liga Filipina showed Rizal's practical leadership. From the Ilustrados, specifically Rizal, they waged their movement by means of pen and tongue to expose the defeats of Spanish rule in the Philippines and the urgency of reforms to remedy them, like in the case of Calamba. When the La Liga Filipina was created, there were issues with the land situation in Calamba, and with this league, through the help of Rizal, they were able to contribute to the recommendations as to what should be done in the farming situation in Calamba. And that is how the La Liga Filipina showed Rizal's practical leadership.